Hello everyone, my name is Pixlriffs and welcome back to the Minecraft Survival Guide. We're back here on the Mushroom Island with the Brown Mooshrooms playing merrily around us, and I have decided that I'm going to do something about these guys because I was a little bit disappointed. You might have been able to tell in the last episode, and I'm a little bit disappointed that you couldn't really get a huge amount of suspicious stew out of these guys. I thought you had to feed them one flower and then it was suspicious stew for the rest of your life. Turns out you have to give them one suspicious stew per flower, and I thought there must be a way that you can do that and get suspicious stew every single time in a fairly quick span. And I have done a little bit of experimentation, and I've figured out a way of doing it. So it relies on the Java Edition mechanic of being able to hold items in your offhand as well as in your main hand. So unfortunately, this might not be able to, be a technique that Bedrock players can use right now. But here is the trick. What you want to do is hold some bowls in your offhand and some flowers in your main hand. It doesn't work the other way around, because the other way around, you automatically default to the right-click action being whatever is in your main hand, which means I just end up getting, in this case, a suspicious stew because I fed it a flower a little while ago. But if I take this now, that's just a regular mushroom stew. But if we turn it the other way around, it defaults to using the flower on the cow first, but since you can't use the flower on the cow a second time, it ends up giving you some suspicious stew because it defaults to using the offhand item when it can't use the main hand item. So if I just take a look at this here mushroom cow with poppies in my right hand, bowls in my left, and I just hold down right click, I get tons of suspicious stew at an almost factory scale rate. And of course, because it doesn't stack, it ends up just collecting in my inventory and then throwing out on the ground, where it could be collected by, say, a hopper or a hopper minecart or anything else that we could use. Actually, I think it's just those two, really, to collect some suspicious stew that had been thrown on the ground. So I'm thinking what we do today is we establish a kind of suspicious stew factory out here, where obviously we will have to have a bunch of flowers around. Like I said, we'll have to have a bunch of bowls as well. But if we have one of these mushrooms standing on a hopper, all we need to do is throw all of the suspicious stew into the hopper. It gets collected automatically in a chest. We have suspicious stew for days. As you can see, I've been doing a little bit of this already, and I'm going to mark this chest with a poppy to kind of remind myself that this is going to be the speed suspicious stew, because otherwise it's going to get very confusing very quickly. But I think with a proper item sorting system, i.e. all of the hoppers just going straight into a chest instead of going to one big giant chest and confusing the heck out of me, I think we would be able to turn this into a bit of a factory operation. So I think I'm going to build a factory on this island. And in order to do that, we're going to need more than the materials I brought with me the other day. The fences and fence gates are all very well, but I think we could do better. So I'm going to head back to the farmhouse and get geared up. And while I step through the nether portal, it turns out some of the brown mushrooms have actually made their way out into the nether, which is not the best of things for them to do, so I think I'm going to try and lead them back. Speed, you shouldn't be here. You should be on the island. All right, let's guide them back through the portal. Let's drag them this way with the leads. Yep, there we go. They've both gone back through, and we get the leads back as well. I think one of the leads might actually have gone through to the island. No worries, though. We'll get that when we next visit. But yeah, I'm going to have to install a security door in this place. So if we're going to build a factory, I'm thinking industrial, turn of the century, industrial revolution, Victorian era kind of factory. So what we're going to need is some pistons, which I have a great deal of in here now, thanks to a little bit of crafting. I have made myself a few hoppers, which we had in the redstone box in the first place, and we're going to need bricks. Yeah, we're going to need more bricks than that, so I'm going to end up breaking down some of these clay blocks and smelting them for bricks, or potentially trading with a stonemason villager if I can find one. So I guess we'll probably head back to the jungle village to see if we can trade for bricks, because that is a really neat way of getting a lot of bricks in this update. And bricks are kind of essential because in that sort of turn of the century industrial revolution kind of thing, brick factory buildings, at least here in the UK, were everywhere, and I think we're going to model this building after that style. So, step number one is to come over here and find some people that I can trade good stuff with. What have you got? Okay, emeralds for books, yes. Emeralds for ink sacks, yes. Emeralds for paper, yes. This is how you farm emeralds in the year 2019. I tell you what, folks, the ink sack trade alone has made it worth building that massive squid farm, because I am getting so many emeralds from these guys. One ink sack for an emerald, it's the best. And believe me, in terms of ink, there is plenty more where that came from, but I'm running through the paper at quite a rate, so we might have to up production on the sugarcane farm one of these days. And now let's find the stonemason, who should be over here by the stone cutter. Which one of you is it? Oh, it's this guy, yes. What do you have? Emerald for 10 bricks. Perfect, I will take it. And we get to see the iron farm in action as well. And the guy kills the zombie. Great. Good work there. Well done. Jump into the lava, please. At least it's collected a little bit of iron in the meantime, but yeah, this design is terrible. I don't know why we even made it. This is a really great way to trade bricks. What I need, though, is a few more rookie stonemasons so that I can get as many additional bricks as possible. Hey, did you just become a stonemason? Enjoy your new vocation. Allow me to trade bricks from you. Yes. Oh, this is good. And as is now traditional in these videos, the Wandering Trader has turned up. Let's see what he's got for sale today. Probably not a great deal of... Oh, good! Nautilus shells. Okay, I will take as many as you can. 5 again. Sure, I guess. And I'm not interested in the tropical fish today, but hey, we actually got another decent trade out of these guys. Again, Nautilus shells, only good trade. These stonemasons are great, though, because they'll restock their trades twice a day. I can trade an emerald for a bunch of bricks, and between the 5 of them, I get 5 stacks of bricks, which means that I can easily make a stack and a bit of brick blocks. I've already gathered this many with just a day or so trading here. I think we are onto a winner here, folks. So, a bunch of traded bricks and a couple of cups of tea later, here we are back on the Mushroom Island, and I have taken some measures to safeguard my nether portal against unwanted Mooshroom visitors. I'm pretty sure this should still work, because it turns out mobs don't really like walking over rails. This tends to happen just as like a useful quality of life mechanic, because if you had mobs walking on your tracks all the time, your minecarts would probably get like pushed by the mobs and you wouldn't be able to continue on your journey. So mobs don't like to walk over railroad tracks, and as you can see, I've actually pinned this red Mooshroom in here simply by surrounding him with rails. And the same can be true of the nether portal. So mobs won't try and walk over this little section of track here into the nether portal. It's quite a useful thing to have around. And obviously, you know, there are certain mobs that would get over there, like phantoms could still fly in or something like that. But in the grand scheme of things, that is a fairly straightforward way of making sure that your portals don't have any unwanted visitors from the overworld side, at least. I'm fairly certain zombie pigmen will still spawn in here and walk through. And if something ends up on the rails, they can still walk on them. They just don't like to walk over them, if that makes sense. So I think what we're going to do is build the factory up here on this little ridge, and it's actually quite a big ridge, which is probably a good call, because I think it's going to be nice to have a little bit of a dynamic feel to this island. If we end up terraforming parts of it and actually building some more stuff here, I feel like this factory is going to be the centerpiece of something that we can kind of convert this whole island over time. I'm not going to do a huge amount of it in the next little while, but we might come back to this area in future. And it would be fun to have the Suspicious Stew Factory here as a landmark already. So I'm going to take down some of this area and just kind of flatten it out a little bit. I don't normally like to flatten all that much stuff, but it's just going to remove any of this awkward terrain. And look, we have the Brown Mooshrooms queuing up here already. I'm also going to get my Silk Touch axe back out of here, because one of the things I want to do is chop down these mushrooms and actually use the blocks. We're going to be using the mushroom stem blocks in particular as a building material for this factory. They're going to be parts of the walls, because I felt like incorporating a little bit of the Mushroom Island style into it to kind of remind you where we still are, even if the landscape changes a great deal. And I feel like these mushroom stem blocks actually look really nice with the new texture. Previously, they looked kind of like a white version of tree bark, had lots of kind of veiny sections to it, but in this new version, they actually look pretty great. And if you remove the stem blocks from around the outside like so... Oh, I ended up breaking them there. This axe is way too efficient to be doing this. But there you go. You get the interior spore texture as well. So you can actually make that happen on all 6 sides. and you can end up using that texture as a hidden fourth texture of mushrooms, which is really quite cool. I doubt we'll find a use for the red or brown mushroom blocks anywhere in this factory, but you never know. It could be like a carpeted area or something like that. There's actually some quite interesting things you can do with them. But one of the other things I want to do with this area is actually start to introduce a little bit of grass, because grass on Mushroom Islands is cartoonishly colourful. It is really, really bright green, and that is why a lot of folks, when they are working in Mushroom Islands, like to actually terraform the entire thing and switch it back to grass. It also makes it much more convenient for planting trees and that kind of stuff, because you can't plant saplings on Mycelium. But introducing some grass here is going to lend a kind of like cartoonish vibe to it. And don't worry, because some people think that Mycelium will actually spread on top of grass. It will not. Grass and Mycelium both spread to dirt, but Mycelium and grass will not fight, so it won't be possible for the Mycelium to completely overrun the grass, or vice versa. If I switched out every block here for grass, the Mycelium would not grow back over it in the slightest. Obviously, the Mycelium is going to spread to the dirt quite heavily right here, because there is more of it around, so there is a higher chance that it will get spread from one block to another, but the grass is going to be able to do that from this central location here too. And if we swap out some more grass around the outside of this dirt patch, then it's going to be much more likely that we'll get some naturally spreading grass in here. You also don't have to worry about the grass being able to spawn hostile mobs after this point, because it's the biome itself, the mushroom fields biome, that dictates whether or not hostile mobs can spawn here, not the material they're spawning on. So Mycelium isn't like spawn proof for hostile mobs or anything. If you put Mycelium elsewhere in the world, you could still have hostile stuff spawning on it. It is the biome that dictates that. So even though we're swapping this area out for grass, and I've lit it up just so it can spread at night, so the grass has adequate light in order to spread here, it's not the case that we would get like creepers or skeletons or whatever showing up here. We don't need to worry too much about that. Now, let's grab some materials. Let's get some bricks, and I've got a screenshot that I'm working from that I put together in Creative, just like a kind of test build for what we're going to do here, using some stone brick stairs, a few bricks for the outside, and mushroom stems for these large wall panels. I'll also need myself a crafting table, which I haven't got over here, and I think I might actually take some of this stone and make myself a stone cutter, so that instead of using the brick blocks in this pattern and getting 4 stairs per 6 brick blocks, what I might actually do is pop down the stone cutter and use that to make myself some brick stairs 1 for 1, because we will be using quite a few brick stairs and slabs, so it's kind of nice to have a decent supply of those. Makes a pretty harsh noise though. I tell you what, the stone cutter and the stonemason villager is kind of now my favorite thing, because the amount of bricks that I managed to get just from trading with those villagers is unreal. And I got a few beforehand that I got from the super smelter. I ended up smelting some of that clay, but even then, we've gotten ourselves a vast amount of bricks just from trading with those stonemasons, so that was super cool. Let's make a few brick slabs as well, and I want to start on these archways. The archways are going to be kind of the foundation of the factory, and what we're going to have here is probably 5 blocks wide, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then another pillar over here, and then we're going to have these repeating archways with the mushroom stem blocks behind them. So 2 blocks up from the ground, we're going to have a stair there and a stair there. We're going to arch this over like so, have brick slabs there, and it's going to join up in the middle. So it's going to be kind of a dome-shaped archway, I guess. We're going to have some slabs across the top here as well, like so. Probably arch it up a little bit more in the middle. Let's step back and take a look at how this looks. Yeah, not too bad. I think this might actually look a little bit better 1 block up from where it was. I feel like the arch started a little bit too low. So let's bring that in there. Yeah, that's a little better, I think. We're going to thicken up the top part of that in a second, but in the meantime, I'm going to put in this backing material, the mushroom stem. Mushroom stem is actually pretty fragile. All mushroom blocks are pretty fragile, but we don't need to worry too much about it breaking, considering that nothing really spawns around here that would explode it, for example. So I think we'll probably be okay. Now let's lay down the bricks across the top here again, thicken this area up a little bit, 1, 2, 3, like so, and slabs on either side. Let's hop down and take a look at that. Yeah, that is looking much better. And part of the reason I have these pistons with me is we're going to use them as aesthetic building blocks for once. We're going to be popping up on here and having them be kind of the supports for this wall. We're also going to use them in a really neat floor pattern a little bit later on. But for now, we're going to curve the wall around like that, and there are going to be some flying buttresses that are attached to a higher section of the wall up here, which we're going to build in just a second. But to make this factory look big and imposing, we're probably going to repeat this pattern 3 or 4 times out in this direction. We want it to look pretty large. We want it to have enough room that it can contain all of the mushrooms that we want. And yeah, I think we're probably going to make it stretch until the end of this section of the island over here. And basically every time I come to the Mushroom Island, something emerges to undermine my point. And in this case, it is a baby zombie. Now, I gotta say, I think I did cover this the first time we came to the Mushroom Island, but there are occasionally sections like here where the ocean biome will actually come onto the Mushroom Island itself, and that is where you actually start to get mob spawns because it's no longer in that mushroom fields biome. So it's probably a good idea if we're working at night if we light this area up just to make sure nothing spawns where these blocks of grass have generated, because as you can see, the borderline between the mushroom field and the ocean biome is literally right there. So, yep, as you can see, a skeleton over there on the sand. That needs taken care of as well, and we might occasionally see some drowned coming out of the water as well, as you can hear from the fact that somebody is now throwing a trident at me. Go on, give me another trident, I dare you. Give me a fresh trident. I would love one. I guess not. We got some gold, though. Hey, there we go. This is starting to look how I want it, and it's just this wall for now, and we can add sections of this as we go, but this is the basic foundation of what's going to be the Suspicious Stew factory here. I think we're probably going to just duplicate this wall design on the opposite side. I did move it forward. By the way, I moved it probably about 8 blocks this way and added some more terrain to the side of here, because where it was, you just couldn't see it if you were standing at ground level when you came through the portal, whereas now this thing looks really, really cool from a distance. It's the first thing you see when you walk through the portal, aside from this mushroom, I guess. You walk through here and immediately there's this big factory building standing on the horizon. And right now it just looks like a framework for what is going to be the build to come, but we will build this thing out and it's going to look great. I do need to go and get some glass panes. I think I only brought 11 of them with me. It's not going to be enough, but I think we will continue with this pattern and build that on the other side, maybe add a factory chimney style thing, maybe a foundation down here with like a pipe that's coming out and is maybe leaking some suspicious stew out into the environment around it, something like that. But I think this whole thing came together pretty well. Let me just climb the scaffolding over here and show you guys what it looks like from the side. There you go. So from here, you should be able to get a pretty good look at this. The archways are nice and tall on the foundation, and that's just a pattern you can repeat and repeat and repeat. We've got some stone bricks leading up from the stone columns on the side there, making what's called flying buttresses, basically the supports that jut out from the side of the building and are there to kind of hold the wall in place, in theory. In the bricks at the back there, we've got nice big spaces for open windows, because a lot of those factory buildings had high windows that you couldn't exactly see out of, but they were just there to let light in. And we've got some connecting wood connecting the 2 brick walls. The thing about red brick is that it can get quite overwhelming in large quantities. Rather than use it as an accent block here, what I've done is kind of make panels of it that are separated out by other types of material. And once again, we're trying to use that kind of 70-30 rule a little bit. We're probably a little bit heavy on the detail here just because of how detailed that brick block looks. But for the most part, I think a lot of this is a nice combination of textures, and it allows the eye to kind of wander over the build instead of just having everything super hyper detailed in front of you. Using the same repetitive materials over and over again instead of jumbling up all of the blocks like we've done in some of the previous builds really kind of sections it out and makes it look like an organized building. So the next step is really going to be to just go ahead and build the rest of the structure. After this same kind of style, we'll probably work on some sort of entrance on one end, we'll seal off the other end, and yeah, factory ahoy! And so, from our little converted piece of land, a factory begins to take shape. And I'm really happy with this so far. And I say begins to take shape, even though to some of you guys this might look almost finished. Believe me, it is not. I have a bunch of plans for this. I want to do so much cool stuff with this, and I'm really excited with the way the build is going so far. But you'll notice that some sections of it still lack detail. We've got a fair amount in that wall. I'm pretty happy with that, and the roof. Could probably use a couple of chimneys or something like that, but for the most part, the roof is pretty great. What this is lacking is maybe like a big round window in the center of there, maybe some decorations for the outside here as well, but from the outside, I'm pretty happy with the way this has come together. Still need to, tweak a couple of things here and there, but for the most part, I'm satisfied with the way this factory is coming together. Now, I thought, because I'm running a little bit low on time for this episode, I would cut to the chase and tell you exactly what I'm going to do. I still need to fill in that back wall. Oh my gosh, that's like a huge, empty, gaping space. Anyway, what we have here is the prototype Mooshroom cow booth that we're going to be using to get a whole bunch of suspicious stew. The first tests have been a success, and I figure it's probably time to get on with bringing in a few more of these guys. This is not actually the speed cow, by the way, despite the poppy, so I kind of want to let this one out, show you what's up, and then bring in all of the other cows and maybe put the cow named Speed in its rightful place over here. So let me take this stair out. The Mooshroom should be able to pathfind its way out. I can probably encourage it if I've got some wheat lying around. There we go. Yes, come on out, buddy. Come on out. There you go. There you go. You've been a great test subject. Thank you for your time. All right, I'll give you some wheat and you can go on your merry way. So what we've got here is a pretty simple setup, actually. It really doesn't take all that much. We have a booth made up of brown mushroom blocks in this case, which I was thinking of changing out for something else because the cow itself kind of blends in with these blocks, and it's got a slab above its head there and a stair in front of that. And because the cow's hitbox is actually slightly over a block tall, if we just measure it next to a block like so, you can see that it's probably about 1.5 blocks high. And that means that with the slab over the top there and with a stair in front of it, it can't actually get out of this little booth. And so what you do is you walk up with a completely full inventory. So you just fill in any of the blocks that you have there, just fill in the space in your inventory so that any suspicious stew you make is immediately going to get thrown. Anytime you craft something in a crafting table and you don't have room for it in your inventory, you just chuck it straight onto the ground. And so what you can do is have a cow in one of these booths, hold some flowers in one hand, hold the bowls in the other hand, and just hold down right click, and you throw all of the stew into the space with the cow, and because it's standing on a hopper, it all just ends up in the chest. Effectively, all you need to do is go up, grab some flowers, and then just stand there holding right click to farm suspicious stew pretty much infinitely. Of course, the main limitation for this is going to be the storage size of the chest. You wouldn't even need a stack of bowls and a stack of flowers for this because the chest can only contain 56 items. So I think the ideal thing to do would be to set up a bunch of booths around here with 56 of each type of the flower and 56 bowls, and just milk as much suspicious stew as you want to out of the cow and fill up a complete double chest. So I'm going to get that done. I'm going to get each of the cows lined up in here. We're going to name tag them. We're going to do the thing that I thought we were going to have to do in the previous episode, and we're going to have a full factory here full of suspicious stew producing cows. Now the hardest part of all of this is going to be finding the cow that I name tagged Speed, because there are a lot of brown mushrooms all over this place. Are you Speed? No, it doesn't look like you are. Is this Speed over here? Is that you? Nope, doesn't look like that's you. I wonder where it's got to. Speed? Yay, Speed, there you are. Hello, buddy. There's also a regular cow here, which I think I must have made in the episode where we kind of originally came to this island, and I demonstrated that you can trim mushrooms off with shears, but I completely did not expect there to be an actual cow here, and that really took me by surprise when I spied it. There you go, Speed, safely in the booth, and I decided to use note blocks for the surroundings of this because we've also used them a little bit in the floor. You might not have noticed this before. I didn't really draw attention to it, but let me get some scaffolding and let me show you the full extent of the floor pattern in here. So this floor is actually made out of a combination of pistons, note blocks, and smokers, all facing in different directions, and I really like the way this came out. There's some really neat stuff you can do with pistons, but of course the piston heads lining up around the piston head texture in there is actually a really fun pattern, and the other pistons in the center here, they could just as easily be something like droppers or furnaces or something like that, but I think the piston actually has its own unique texture to the base of it, and all I did was invert the piston, just place it facing down, and then push it down into the floor using another piston. So it's actually quite easy to get hold of that. Of course, you could dig underneath them and place them that way if you wanted to, but pushing them downwards into the floor with pistons meant that you had to do a lot less digging, and I'm really happy with how this turned out. It feels very different, very industrial, and it's got a nice vibe to it, and that's kind of something a little bit different for this build. Anyway, without further ado, I am going to set up a few more of these Suspicious Stew milking booths, and we'll be able to bring some more cows in. All the cows are now in their booths, and I've actually brought over a bunch of flowers from the flower farm and portioned out the bowls for each individual Mooshrooms flower. So we should have 54. I can't remember if I said 54 or not before. It's definitely 54. 27 times 2, definitely 54. I think I said 56 before. I might just be imagining that. Anyway, what you need to do is, you'll notice there's nothing in the chest here, and we got some cornflowers here, which are, as the name tag tells you, the flower that gets you Suspicious Stew, that gives you jump boost. So all you need to do is take out the flowers, take out the bowls, put the flowers in your main hand, put the bowls in your offhand like so, and then just stand here and right click. And of course that will all go into your inventory. Now obviously if you want to just throw them out individually, you can. They'll just go straight into the chest from that hopper. Or alternatively, you fill up, say, your entire inventory with sticks like so, and I'll throw out that last Suspicious Stew there as well. There we go. And then all you need to do is hold down right click here, and all of the stew gets just thrown off kind of over the cow, I suppose. But all you need to do is just keep holding that down until all the bowls are gone, and you've got yourself, aside from that one in the offhand there, an entire chest, an entire double chest even, of Jump Boost Suspicious Stew. Not bad. Not bad for a kind of semi-automatic way of harvesting the Suspicious Stew from these cows. And I need to get myself some more bowls now, I guess. But I can come back here anytime I want, grab some Suspicious Stew, and have a fleeting amount of jump boost. A very, very little amount of jump boost. But it's a little bit of fun, and it resulted in this build, which is something, like I said, I'm really, really happy with and looking forward to adding the finishing touches to here and there. But that is all we're going to do in this episode. Thank you guys so much for watching this episode of the Minecraft Survival Guide. My name has been Pixlriffs. Don't forget to leave a like on this episode if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you want to see more, and I'll see you guys soon. Take care. Bye for now.